Hello, everybody. I hope all of you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope that the food was good, the company was good, and that everybody around you just generally was happy celebrating the holiday with you. Anyway, we're getting right back into it. Shoe released a video last week at some time, and well, here I am. I hope it's a banger. Usually all Shoe videos are a banger, so let's see where this takes us. Alright, let's get into it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am here
that's very loud again. One of these days I'm going to learn, I swear.
to inform you that the rumors are indeed true. The Democrats have struck back. In the New Jersey governor's race, the Democrat won. In the Virginia governor's race, the Democrat won.
Yep.
And in the New York City race, Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani defeated Andrew Cuomo to become the next mayor of America's largest city.
Democrat's a strong word.
But the question on everyone's mind is, was it just a fluke? Just easy wins in blue cities and states? Or is there something more to this? Is this a sign of things to come? Is the Democratic Party finally turning their losing...
I mean, like, usually every time the midterm elections swing in the opposite direction of the party that is, quote, in power, end quote. So, I mean, anybody who's surprised by this, I would say you are most likely historically illiterate.
streak around? Are they actually listening to the people now?
No.
Did they finally learn their lesson?
Republicans don't even listen to the people.
Thanks for watching. My last 3 videos about electoral politics were warning the Democratic Party that young men were moving right because the party
How dare you give them advice?
sucks and was becoming the young men each and die movement, spanking the Democratic Party for losing because they elected one of the most unlikable, shittiest candidates while offering absolutely nothing to voters.
Appointed.
And defending the voters from the wrath of a bunch of liberal streamer man-children calling the voters stupid and evil for daring not to vote for Hillary Clinton and brownface.
Yeah, how dare you.
But the thesis for all 3 of those videos was basically the same. As the right embraces working-class populism, the Democratic Party and the left...
Which, by the way, should be worrying for people who think they're populists, in the sense that, when the right is the one engaging with that, then you technically are aligned with the right, whether or not you agree or disagree with that. And you should be happy that people are engaging now more so with the problems and programs that you support, regardless of the side that it's from.
Will continue to fade into irrelevancy. But as I also predicted in those last videos, there might be an eventual pendulum swing, and it might be happening much sooner than I predicted. Like, how did we go from Republicans
there's going to be a pendulum swing in about 1 year ago.
Winning the popular vote,
like 2,
in part thanks to a lot of the young people voting, to a bunch of data showing those same young people dropping their support for the GOP already. But the interesting thing is, those young people don't seem to be moving to the Democratic Party either.
Yeah, because they have nowhere to go.
And do the Democrats have a plan to scoop these people up? Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And they called it, I'm not kidding, deciding to win. Deciding to win.
Yeah, the Democrats have a plan. It's not a very good plan, but at least it's a plan, right?
As if the whole time they have just been simply deciding to lose. It was a choice, guys. They changed their mind and they want to win now. In this video, I will talk about why I think Zoran Mamdani won. We will go through the Democrat Party's plan to decide to win. We will briefly talk about the rise of the political commentator Nick Fuentes, the MAGA Civil War, and what I like to call the inevitable rise of shoe-socialism. If that sounds interesting, stick around. If it doesn't,
I don't know.
leave.
That ideology sounds a little suspect.
Baka. I know a lot of you are not very interested in politics. You come here.
Shu, are you getting into anime? Do we need to stage an intervention for you? Is this the moment where you've lost all of your humanity and succumbed to the dark side of the internet? Also, by the way, you should watch Orin High School Host Club.
Here for the
It's
fun Reddit slop, the men vs. women content, yeah, I know. But unfortunately, politics kind of seeps into your lives, whether you want it to or not. So you might as well be entertained when you hear about it, and have some fun with it when you can. And I just so happen to have the perfect app for that. So before we get into this political deep dive, let's quickly give a shout out to today's sponsor, one of my favorite sponsors to work with, Ground News.
Hell yeah.
Ground News is a website and an app
Never
that gives
used
readers
it.
a transparent and easy way to read news from
But I
all
hear it's
across the
great.
political spectrum, from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown
From
of
left,
political
right,
bias
and
that helps you
wrong.
understand the full story and makes sure you're getting both sides. One of my
That's a
favorite
joke. I
features
have to
on Ground
clarify
News
that.
is the blind spot feature, which shows you news stories that have been covered by one side of the spectrum and ignored
They call it
by
blind
the
spot
other.
'cause it's
For example,
blind
here
from
is a story
everybody's
about how the
view. They
White
don't
House
watch
apparently
it.
intervened in an Andrew Tate federal probe.
That's a lie. I'm
29
sure a lot of
news
people do.
sources covered this. 86% of them were left-wing.
But the people who need it
None
don't,
were right-wing.
for sure.
Ground News also makes it really easy to compare headlines to see how political bias can affect framing. For example, this feud between Elon Musk and Billie Eilish. This right-wing headline reads, Elon Musk claps back at Billie Eilish after she slams him
God,
for
can we
hoarding
please
wealth.
stop these
And
types of
this
headlines?
left-wing article frames the same story as, Elon Musk's comebacks are as flat as his attempts at jokes. Very different
Wow,
vibes going on
yay.
here. I've been
I'm
using Ground
itching
News
to
since
read that
2021
article.
because it is just a
I'm
great
itching to read
and
the first
fun way
article,
to
too.
keep up with the news. But don't just take my
Woohoo.
word for it. Even the Nobel Peace Center called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. Best of all, I am currently offering 40% off their Vantage
take
plan,
it,
which is
right
the
there.
plan I use
Use
to
the
access
QR
all their
code.
amazing
Give
features.
Shoe more
so go to
traffic.
ground.news/shoe or use the QR code here on screen,
Yes.
or use the link in the video description down below. It's only like $5 a month, which is basically the price of like a coffee. You can also gift a subscription to somebody. Just select the Vantage subscription, add a customized gift message, and Ground News will send it straight to their inbox where they can activate it. The perfect Christmas present for your out-of-touch uncle who gets all his news from Facebook. So
And he's
thank you,
never
Ground
going to
News,
check
for
the blind
sponsoring this
spot
video,
filter,
and
you know
thank
that.
you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad.
It's a very passive-aggressive way of
Now,
telling your
let's get
uncle that
back
he's
to the video.
stupid.
For those of you familiar with the Shoeonhead channel, you know I've
Yes.
harshly criticized the Democratic Party for all my career.
Rightfully so.
Some say too harshly. Frankly, I don't care.
No. Not harsh enough.
And some say I'm not harsh enough on the Republicans.
Ah,
First of all,
That's me.
true,
Oh,
but
wait,
let's
no,
be
you said
honest,
Republicans.
That's not why you come here. You go to Kyle Kalinske for that. Just like you go to Destiny to see opinions you can hear on CNN, or to Hassan for dog training tips.
Hell
You
yeah.
come here to hear, golly gee willikers, I'm left wing and the Democrats have gone crazy. That's the shit you're here for.
Well, I hate to say it, Shoe, but they left you a while ago.
But are the Democrats actually getting their shit together? Or did they
No.
simply get lucky in a few blue areas? One of those blue areas being my city, New York, where Democratic
Rest in
Socialist
peace.
candidate Zohran Mamdani won the election and will become the new mayor. And a lot of people are like really confused about how this happened. And if you're one of those people, you really need to keep watching. If you don't understand why Mamdani won, I'm sorry to say, but you're kind of like the liberals in 2016
I mean,
who didn't understand why.
I have a little bit of a different opinion on it. It's not that it's not that I don't understand how he won. I don't understand why he was allowed to win. There's a difference there.
Trump won. It's actually extremely understandable why Zohran Mamdani won, and it's not just because New York is full of commies or whatever. He's
My theory is the voting base is generally unplugged and they just don't know what they're voting for.
objectively the best Democratic candidate that they've had in a very, very long time. Like, I know the bar is in hell there, but he's young, he's energetic, he's
True.
charismatic. And people are really tired of the White House doubling as a retirement home. And of course, I
Yeah.
like many of his economic
could see that.
policies. I like the universal childcare thing, the transportation, flipping off the Christopher Columbus statue. That's the shit I don't like. Bitch, that's our fucking guy. He was a brave
True.
Italian explorer who discovered America, and in this house, Christopher Columbus is a hero. End of story. I've said this many times, but I don't think the good left-wing policies can even exist alongside the bad left-wing policies. Like, I don't know how you can have free transportation but also be soft on crime. Like, I don't know, like, in what world does that work out? You can't have nice.
I mean, I can 100% agree with that. If you're going to offer free transportation, like, you got to make sure that stuff is safe. Like, just on its face. Because if you're going to be trying to encourage that, the biggest dissuader for people to take public transportation is, if I go on there, I'm going to get stabbed 27 times by a crazy person who should have been in jail a decade ago, or lit on fire by a crazy person who should have been in jail 2 decades ago.
clean, free transportation if a bunch of drug addicts and violent felons are going around stabbing people and setting them on fire? You can't have nice things if you don't have rules to enforce those nice things. You know what I mean? It's always such a breath of fresh air when I go back to visit my family.
It's not even that you just need rules. You also need the mechanisms of enforcement, which means that you have to be okay wielding and utilizing violence in order to violently remove these other violent actors. And a lot of, at least in my opinion, left-wing actors don't understand that we don't live in a world where a regulation or a rule is going to stop somebody. A person who is authorized to utilize violence on behalf of the state and behalf of the other people in society is going to be the one that removes them. Like, you can have as many rules as you want, but they don't do anything unless you have somebody there to enforce the rule.
The suburbs of Long Island, and I go with the CVS, and the f***ing toothpaste is free from their plexiglass prisons. I shouldn't have to wait 10 minutes for some poor wagey to come unlock the cagey so I can buy f***ing shampoo. We don't have to live that way. Maybe he'll do great, or maybe he gets—
No, you do have to live that way if you keep continuing to get people in there who believe that rules are all you need in order to stop bad actors.
To power and immediately cucks to the establishment like some other people. I don't like to talk about it. I just don't know how the hell anyone thought Andrew Cuomo was going to
never meet your heroes, kid.
Win. He killed a bunch of grandmas during COVID.
As you admitted this week, you personally altered the state health department report to undercount the death total, to hide the death total.
Yeah, that sounds like a politician.
And then evaded and lied to these families for 5 years. So
you
yeah, go ahead and keep laughing there, Cuomo.
For what? Plus, he doesn't even live in New York City. He doesn't live in the city he's running to be mayor of. Cuomo just
90% of politicians don't live in the place in which they represent, and that needs to change.
Kind of expected to—
90% is a hyperbolic number, but it's more than you would expect.
Win based on name recognition alone and being like, hey, at least I'm not the other guy.
That's a great platform.
Trump actually
hey, I'm not that
offered
guy.
A vision. Make America great again. Mamdani offered a vision. A New York City you can afford. So people took a chance on him.
A New York City that you can afford. Well, you definitely can afford it if everybody has $1 and everything costs 50 cents.
People
but you can't afford anywhere else.
Andrew Cuomo, he had no vision or anything. Oh man, I love tuning into a debate about New York City, and 80% of it is about another f***ing country.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first?
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
I would go to Israel.
I'd make my fourth trip to Israel.
Mr. Mueller.
This was a disaster for everybody. This is probably one of the most important parts of why Zoran won, because he doesn't say anywhere else except for like, what are you guys talking about?
In New York City. My plans are
yeah,
to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Yeah, why do I have to virtue signal and say I'm going to go to Israel? I mean, I'm going to just stay here where I was elected into an office to make my constituents' lives better, whether or not they think that I'm going to do it or not.
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel?
No.
That was the exact moment I knew Zoran was going to win.
Yeah.
Ro was just surrounded by NPCs. I love how they're like, where would you go? And Zoran was like, I'm gonna stay here. And instead of being like, no, Zoran, the question was, where would you go? They're like, why wouldn't you go to Israel? Like, that's the answer to the question.
The correct answer is, I'm gonna go ahead and get in my car and drive up whatever roads are in New York. I've never been to New York, so I don't know what they are. Broadway, there you go. I'm gonna drive up and down Broadway and ask everybody, hey, am I doing a good job? Or what do you need?
Like, that's just the default answer to that
like a
question.
real public
His win
servant.
was very much in part a direct response to the affordability crisis that many Americans are facing. So what is the GOP's answer to the affordability crisis? Oh, great news, guys. There is no affordability crisis. It doesn't exist. It's all in your head, silly. Need to save money? Simply don't buy your grandmother a Christmas present this year.
Budget. You need a plan. Also remember, adults don't need gifts, okay? Focus on the the people in your life who are age 3 to 18. Grandma doesn't need slippers. If they don't
What
live
a
by
terrible
you,
take.
don't get them a gift. Now's not the time to spend and break the banks.
Zoran's win was also basically a direct response to the housing crisis in America. So what is the GOP's response to the pie-in-the-sky, commie gobbledygook that Zoran Mamdani is selling? Surely they have a better solution.
Here we go. The White House is floating this idea. Bill Pulte is saying, thanks to President Trump, we can indeed work on the 50-year mortgage, a complete game changer.
The
how does that work
50-year
in dollars?
mortgage,
Here you go.
wow.
30-year fixed mortgage right now.
I can't wait to have the sword of Damocles over my head for 50 years, guys. What about you? Isn't that great?
You're paying $2,038.
I'm going to be on the hook until, oh God, if you get a mortgage at 30, you won't have that bitch paid off until you're 80. Hopefully in the best case scenario. Well, best case scenario, you're going to pay it off earlier, but I'm saying like if it goes to full term, 80 years old. Okay, sure. That's a great, wow.
Dollars a month, principal and interest on a $400,000 home. At the bottom, under 50 years, you'd save a couple $100 a month at $1,822 principal and interest. That is proposed.
Man, dude, I can't believe that.
I do not like this.
Yeah, thank you. I do not like this
prices,
idea.
not building more housing. No, just being a good little slave to the bank for 50 years. You might as well be a rentoid forever in this case. Like,
right.
At least you don't have to fix your own dishwasher. You will own nothing and be happy. Doesn't that sound great, Gen Z?
Yay.
Vote for us. We'll release the Epstein files and finally drain the swamp. Awesome. Finally, justice.
Yeah.
Here it comes, the Epstein Files Phase 1.
Oh
we got
boy,
all your
gimme.
celebs here. Don't you
That's
think
a little
it's
weird.
a little tacky? I mean, like, this is an international child trap. The Epstein Files are on my desk. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's what we've been waiting for.
Don't pay attention to everything going on over here. Pay attention to this, you know. Hello?
Well? Oh, they don't exist. Wait. What? Yeah, the Epstein Files don't exist.
Oof.
They're a Democrat hoax. But you just said, hey, what the fuck? That's my wallet. Sorry.
Yeah, give me
Israel
my
needs new
taxes.
weapons.
Yay.
Psst. What do you want, Democrat? Vote for us. Why? What do you have to offer?
Absolutely nothing.
That's my wallet again. What are you people doing? Sorry. Israel needs new weapons.
Yay!
The Epstein Files are a really big deal. This is not a partisan issue. You should absolutely care about an international child trafficking blackmail operation consisting of the most powerful people in the world. And anyone telling you to move on is coping, gaslighting, or in on it. If whatever is in there is so damning that it is a national security risk, the people deserve to know. Like, I don't know about you, but if we are paying taxes to a bunch of satanic pedophiles, I would like to know. That is information
My issue with the entire way that they've been releasing it is I don't think ever we will be able to see what's actually in those types of files, because I think that there are mechanisms within the government to start essentially removing, retracting, and getting rid of clandestinely parts of the files to make it look like that what actually happened was not as present or available as what was available. And, you know, it's going to be one of those things where this is like our JFK files for our generation. It's never going to come out. Maybe in like 100 years we'll know, but very unlikely that we're going to know in our lifetime what's going on. And I think it was kind of I don't want to call it an unforced error, because I think it was a little bit more forced than anything, but an error nonetheless of the Trump administration to say we're going to do this and then not do it.
I would like to know.
And
like,
it's
unfortunate. I already know we're doing that, but I would like some confirmation. Okay, so literally as I am filming this, Trump is saying he is releasing the Epstein files.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
I guess they weren't a hoax. I'm gonna be so honest. I have no idea what the is going on, you guys. I'm sure when this video gets posted.
Okay, so that's the point though. The more confused you are, the more the government stands to benefit from it, right? So it's like, the more you can confuse the public on something, the more control over the narrative that you have, because the more wild speculation can go. Like, essentially, if you're trying to make a story or kill a story, make it go away, just engineer confusion around it. So I mean, it's hard to parse through that and hard to not be confused, but, you know, all you can really do is do your best.
There's already going to be more things that have happened. Also, Mike Johnson apparently said they need to make changes to the files to make sure we, quote, don't do permanent damage to the political system.
Imagine.
If releasing the Epstein files would do damage to the political system, then so be it. Then it deserves to be damaged. It deserves to be destroyed. Just release the files. After all, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear.
True.
Isn't that right, government? But it wasn't just the Epstein files thing that has MAGA feeling a little demoralized lately.
Does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn.
We've talked about this a few times on this channel, actually very recently in the male loser epidemic video. The no talented Americans thing is a myth pushed on us by corpos and billionaires. So they can hire foreign workers who will work for less money and won't unionize. Worker drones who will work under the coercion of deportation.
Yeah, what's their talent? Forced labor? That's a hell of a talent.
Essentially creating infinite scab labor. Even though there are so many Americans in these fields looking for jobs. But those spoiled Americans will ask for a living wage so they can live in a 600-foot square apartment. How dare they? We can't do that.
I don't know how I would go about solving this problem either, because on the one hand, I definitely think that it's important to make sure that Americans, specifically Americans, have the ability to live out the American dream. But on the other hand, I don't know like how to approach it, because I'm always hesitant to introduce regulations because of the externalities that they can cause. And I really don't like the idea of the government forcing a system to do something that it's not tooled to do, in the sense like forcing a system to have to hire Americans. Like ideally you do that, but how do you do that? Because now we're talking about the utilization of force and at point of gun to make companies make these decisions, and that doesn't sit right with me either. Because inevitably at the end of the day, a regulation does come back with the threat of you will be arrested if you don't, if you don't follow our regulation, and the only way to enforce that arrest is at the point of a gun. So I'm a little hesitant to employ violence there, so I have like a lot of conflicting thoughts on that. So it's a very difficult situation in my opinion.
So import 1 billion immigrants. After all,
that again we shouldn't be doing.
Good for business.
Folks are not thrilled about this idea of hundreds of thousands of foreign students in the United States.
If we were to cut that in half, which perhaps makes some people happy, you would have...
Honestly, I think we should probably be cutting that down by 90%. It's ridiculous the amount of money that we just give to foreign nationals.
And it's not that I want them, but I view it as a business.
Unfortunately, America does feel like nothing but 3 corporations in a trench coat. But America is not a business. America is not a corporation. It is a nation.
It's true.
The contrast of what Trump is saying here.
America is a nation, but you have to run aspects of it like a corporation. Because if you don't run aspects of it like a corporation and try to make some of the organs of the body solvent or profitable, then you're going to have a lot of problems with self-funding and self-regulation. Because a lot of companies, in fact most companies, run on marginal profits, which is they try to make as much as they're going to cover their costs in the year and then some improvement costs. And really you need to have the government be able to self-improve itself and self-sustain itself, unless you are going to be telling the taxpayers, which is your average everyday American, that you're going to be paying for governmental losses. And I don't think a lot of people really enjoy that.
Compared to how he used to talk is...
At least, as I'm saying, for certain aspects of the government. There are certain things like, taxes for making sure that roads are, taken care of, that I think everybody ubiquitously agrees is a good thing. But when you're getting taxed for a road, or maybe your local tax for improving your local area, and you don't see any improvement over a decade of living there, what's the point of paying a tax at that point? Now you're just paying off the debts of bad, government regulation, bad government operation, and I don't think anybody wants to do that.
Staggering. Republicans embracing populism, at least rhetorically, is what gave rise to Donald Trump and fundamentally changed the way Republicans do politics in America. If you go back and watch the debates of Donald Trump in 2016, it's crazy.
We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East. They lied. They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
I not only remember this debate, I remember that entire time.
That's not how politicians in general really talked at that time. Like, we would see it from Bernie Sanders and maybe like Ron Paul, but to get up on stage in a Republican debate in front of Republican donors saying that kind of shit was unheard of. Bro was getting booed. Trump won in 2016 by decrying the bloodlust and warmongering of the Republican Party, but also by speaking to the economic woes of the average working class American. Basically saying, I see you, to people who felt like they haven't been seen by either party in a very long time.
That's going to go a long way in the future, by the way. That's probably going to be in the next 25 to 30 years of politics. There's going to be overtures to the unseen man, so to speak, on both sides because it worked twice. Like, yeah, maybe he didn't get the interim election, and we can discuss all day the causes and reasons for that. But really, in effect, he got elected on it in Trump 1 and got elected on it in Trump 2. So now everybody in the political spectrum is making overtures to your local constituents or the constituents that you're trying to get to seems to be working, which surprisingly enough is a lesson that took them probably about 100 years at this point to remember.
Like, I saw people in my life, my neighbors and stuff, that were all like Obama voters, like just flipped Trump, and now like all of Long Island Long Island is like the Florida of the Northeast, bro. It is like Trump country there now. Before Trump,
because he's talking directly to them.
Trump.
Who would have thought?
Oh, my nuggies are here. My nuggies are here. 1 second. 1 second. I must go get my nuggies. It's nuggie time.
Yes.
34-year-old woman.
Not gonna lie, the quality of McDonald's nuggets have gone down precipitously since COVID. It's awful.
By the way. Mother, by the way. Before Trump, the Democrats basically relied on talking about how the Republican Party didn't care about the working class. But eventually, the problem for Democrats was the working class didn't care about them.
Well, you also know that you have a problem when, I believe it was the head of the Teamsters Union didn't come out and endorse a Democrat, which was essentially an endorsement. I think she actually came out straight out and endorsed Donald Trump. Once you've lost the Teamsters as the Democrats, you know your campaign is over. Capital O-V-E-R, the whole word is capital over.
But now it seems like the Republican Party is going back on all of that and becoming the Bush-era neoconservative party again, right as they're winning, embracing freaks like Lindsey Graham.
So I just want to say I feel good about the Republican Party.
I will say that Lindsey Graham has had some good things that he said, but definitely he's one of those politicians that when he's on your side, it's great, and when he's not on your side, you're just like, bro, come on, man.
I feel good about where we're going as a nation. We're killing all the right people, and we're cutting your taxes.
Yay.
Trump is my favorite president. We've run out of bombs. We didn't run out of bombs in World War II.
Republicans, is that what you want your party to be? Lowering taxes and killing people? We tried.
So, lowering taxes, yes. Killing people depends on the person. So, would I want some average Joe Schmo regular citizen in Syria to be drone strike, which is something Obama did? No, I don't want that. I don't care who's doing it. I don't want some random citizen of a country to have to expect an American-made bomb to come right down on their head. However, I do think that it is a good thing that we are now stopping Venezuelan drug boats coming across the ocean with extreme military prejudice, because I do not want the citizens of the United States to be adversely harmed by bad actors in the drug trade industry. So yes, I do want certain people to be extrajudicially prosecuted by the US military in order to save our citizenry. I think that is a very fair and reasonable take.
That already. To many Republicans, the solution to the affordability crisis wreaking havoc on Americans is simply trusting the free market, working hard, And if that doesn't work, they bust out all reliable.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing.
What a take. I'm gonna be completely honest with like the whole Ben Shapiro thing. There are some like way back in the day, there were some things that he said that I was just like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that. But recently, I don't know what's been going on, but he has been like leaning super, super far into crazy town. At least all of the stuff that I've been seeing of him, like kind of floating around, it's been just bombastic, super far in a direction. Like I hesitate to call it far right because that's been such a tainted phraseology to begin with, but it's definitely been, I would say, probably far authoritarian, or maybe if not authoritarian, far delusional.
Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that.
Ah yes, the classic. Just move. Just move from...
Okay, so to give a little, there's no excuse for what he said, but to give a little context for what he said, if you can't afford where you live or where you're born about 200 years ago, you had places to go that were accessible, maybe dangerous to go to, but everywhere was dangerous at the time. And you had the ability to pick up and leave because prices and things and even taxes were not nearly as they are today. To say that you can do that today is completely ignorant of the fact that we live in a completely different time than, like I said, 200 years ago. Sure, maybe the American people's like past cultural zeitgeist has been predicated on the fact of being able to pick up, move, and live the American dream elsewhere and elsewise whenever you wanted to. But we live in a world now where that is not a possibility. I can't just pick up and move like 90% of the way to the other side of the country and stake a land claim out in the middle of nowhere. That's just, I can't do that. Claim free land, work it myself, survive off of subsistence crop farming, and then have like a city form around me in the next 100 years. I have to live where I'm born. Or I move to a place that's economically depressed where I still can't afford a house, still can't afford to eat, and it's most likely a food desert. Maybe if I'm lucky, get enough to get some land, a small amount of land where I can put a tent on and maybe start growing some crops, but that's not going to be nearly enough to feed me. I'm not going to be able to get, animals in order to, again, sustain myself. It's not possible. So the problem is it's true in the abstract, but not true in the effect. There is no way that you can do that nowadays. And I hate to see that because it's intellectually dishonest at best and purposely misleading at worst.
Economic Zone 67 to Economic Zone 69. I don't know, man. Maybe some people actually like where they live. Maybe they want to make their community better. This is like the libertarian version of just deal with it when you talk to leftists about crime. Like, no, we shouldn't just deal with it. We shouldn't just move. Maybe we can make the cities in our country livable and safe. Maybe better things are possible, actually. My husband and I moved away from our families because of his job, and it f***ing sucks. It sucks raising kids without an extended family around. Say hi to grandma on FaceTime. Not normal, not natural. When I was growing up, it was like aunts and uncles and cousins and grandparents were just coming in and out of my house, like bringing over food, like, hey, I got some.
I mean, I had a small family, but I still couldn't rationalize not having them around for holidays.
Oh my god, I would be babysat by my cousins and my aunts. And because we moved away, my kid won't have that. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's one reason many young people are putting off having children. The complete lack of community, the lack of a village. If you can't afford to live where your family lives, just move to fucking Gary, Indiana, where there's nobody around and no jobs and no family and no friends. But hey, at least you can afford a house there. No grocery stores, no food. That's not how life should work, Ben. Maybe take a step back and try to understand. Am I doing bird hands too much? You guys have made me so insecure about the fucking bird hands thing ever since this meme. Listen, I'm a woman, okay? We are programmed to scold children. And when no children are around, We scold people on the internet, okay? Anyway, Nick Fuentes is a far-right commentator and a controversial figure to say the least. But his main topic he covers is Israel, which is an extremely hot topic that many other right-wing commentators seem to not want to touch. And the rare times they do touch it, it's them telling you not to talk about it, questioning why you care so much, or shape-shifting into the...
I really think that the reason why most people don't like Nick Fuentes is because I think he shines a light on a lot of the underlying problems of the society, insofar as like maybe his takeaways you disagree with, but the fact that he's trying to start a conversation about something that is uncomfortable makes people, you know, as I said, uncomfortable, and they don't like that. So I think that's where a lot of the antipathy for him comes from.
Woke mob they fought against for so many years, calling you names, calling for you to be censored. What's funny is they didn't care about any of Nick Fuentes' rants on like race or women. They only started caring when his rants on Israel were blowing up. Nick recently did an interview with Tucker Carlson, which completely ignited the MAGA civil war that was brewing on the right for some time now. It got so ridiculous that even Chuck Schumer went on the Senate floor and called for a disavowal of Nick Fuentes. Sir, with all due respect...
Wow, what a Schumerism. We love Schumer.
None.
Yay.
Why do politicians need a resolution in the Senate to disagree with a citizen? Hello, I have gathered you all here today to disavow Hitler Bussy 420. People can't afford groceries, Charles.
What a Twitter name that be. Jesus. Yeah, but also that is a good point. You know, people can't afford groceries. Why are we talking about this guy?
Ben Shapiro in particular has spent the last few months extremely confused and angry about Zoran Mamdani and Nick.
Like I went to the grocery store about a couple days ago. We were buying stuff for Thanksgiving. Oh my God. Like, I cannot believe how we have allowed as a society groceries to cost this much. Like, I remember back in the day when a $100 grocery bill was a lot, and that was for a family of 4. Like that, it is ridiculous the amount of money that we pay. I mean, I remember the fucking dollar menu. I remember way back in the day, you could get an entire McDonald's meal for an entire set of McDonald's meal for like, 3-4 people for under $20. Like, I can't believe it. I cannot believe that we have been okay for so long with such increased prices.
Fuentes becoming popular in the mainstream, all while his numbers continue to drop. I honestly don't think he understands what is happening here, so I am going to explain to you, Ben,
yes, please,
what exactly is going on.
Explain to me too.
The American dream does not exist anymore for most people. Young people followed advice that worked for older generations, and it got them nowhere. Young people are tired of this stale, moldy, old, dead consensus that has dominated American politics for a very long time. The one that dragged us into all these foreign wars and sold us out for some cheap plastic shit from China. Young people are tired of being told to sit down and shut up and pledge allegiance to the free market in a country that seems to not give a shit about them, as well as a foreign country they have absolutely no connection to.
Honestly, I don't think it's got anything to do with pledging allegiance, quote, to the free market. I think it's got everything to do with the fact that nobody's seeing the benefits of the free market come down to them, due in part to either over-regulation, under-regulation, whatever, thing that you want to ascribe to it. But I think it really comes back down to government mismanagement of the funds they've been handed through the free market. So the amount that we are paying in essentially gratuity to our government doesn't come back to us and serve the community. And I think that's where the antipathy for the free market is coming from, because it's easy to blame the free market because it's what you interact with every day. It's not easy to diagnose the fact that the free market is being subverted by the government's mishandling and misregulation of the funds, rather the debt that they owe to the American people.
For so long, establishment hacks and establishment shills looked at the issues bothering the people and just kind of dismissed them. Can't afford to live where you grew up? Just move. Don't like that the toothpaste is locked behind plexiglass? Just deal with it. Think it's kind of fucked up how you work 40 hours a week and still can't afford to pay rent? What are you?
No, you think it's kind of fucked up that people work 60 hours a week and still can't afford it?
Some kind of communist? You
They got to get 2 jobs to work 60 hours a week, and both those jobs sometimes double work or double counting hours. And that's, you know, employers don't like it when you do that, but in order to like just be able to afford rent, you have to do that. I cannot believe that we have been okay with the mainlining of complete financial insolvency in order to serve governmental interests.
Funding a genocide with your tax dollars? What are you, anti-Semitic? If you don't address the issues of the people will gravitate.
I will be whatever the fuck you want to call me if I can afford my next house, or rather my house, if I can afford my next meal, if I can afford my next grocery bill, if I can afford literally anything. I will be whatever you want to call me. Boom. Does that make me bad? No. It makes me normal.
Hate towards those who are
like how I was trying to start, like, you know, a whole my next this, my next that, my next that, fuck. Afford my next house. Yeah, dude. I'd like to afford my first house.
Addressing those issues. It's not Mamdani's fault he won. It's yours. It's not Nick Fuentes' fault he's popular. It's yours. The tragedy of Ben Shapiro is that he led a life worshipping the free market, only to lose in the free marketplace of ideas. Now, with all this neocon rhetoric coming out of—
Well, I think he might be currently losing, but, you know, as history has dictated, pendulum shifts about once every 10 years. It's probably a good thing, so I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, later on he might have the pendulum shift back to him. Just how it is.
The GOP. Are the Democrats going to pick up the populist ball that they are fumbling? Are they actually going to get their shit together?
No, because they don't believe in populism.
Well, they are trying, because they have written an article called Deciding to Win, where after interviewing over 300,000 American voters from both parties, they may have finally discovered the secret to winning.
To give ourselves the best chance to win, we recommend the following changes to our approach.
Oh boy, here we go.
Democrats need to 1. Focus our messaging on an economic program centered on lowering costs, growing the economy, creating jobs, and expanding the social safety net. 2. Advocate for popular
Oh, you know what? We'll let him finish.
Moderate our positions where our agenda is unpopular, including on issues like immigration, public safety,
wonder if they're gonna
energy
take their
production, and
advice.
some identity and cultural issues.
So basically it took you guys 10 years, millions of dollars, and dozens of Microsoft team meetings to come to the conclusion that everyone has been saying forever. You wasted a decade worshipping at the altar of mentally ill Karens, and now you're acting like, hey, what if we were normal? Is a groundbreaking political discovery.
Normal.
You. I could have told you all this for free. It is a bad sign that it took you over a decade to come to the same conclusion that my audience has come to like a decade ago.
Yep.
And they're all retarded. Please reflect on this, I beg of you. Also, what do you mean you had unpopular positions on public safety? Like, why would you even say that out loud? Yeah, let's vote for the party that admits it was wrong about the issue of crackheads shanking people in the—
I don't even know if they'd be able to take their own advice. Because my issue is I think that the Democrat Party might end up merging into a different type of party, because it started, like, being a Democrat started to mean something completely different than what it actually used to mean. Same thing for being a Republican, right? So the shift of the parties is actively happening while we are alive. And it's going to be interesting to see where this discussion is going to be at in about a decade's time from now, because our parties are probably going to be talking about completely different approaches to issues, and that's something to keep an eye on, in my opinion.
Street. I love this quote from Nancy Pelosi, randomly shoved in here.
Winning an election is a decision. You make a decision to win.
Yeah,
and then
man.
You make every decision in favor of winning.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Winning an election is a decision, usually decided by the higher ups in the Democrat Party, who's going to appoint you to be the representative of the party, because I'm sure everybody in the Democrat Party voted for Kamala Harris to be their, duly appointed representative of the Democrat Party. I'm sure everybody, made sure that that was in fact the case. Man, by the way, I have very strong opinions on essentially democracy as a system of government, because we interpret that very, very wrong in our cultural understanding of it, as well as the way that Democrat Party manifests democracy.
How deep, how thought-provoking. Thank you, Nancy. What would we do without you? Probably win an election.
Democrats have changed our focus.
We'd be much better off politically.
In comparison with the Democratic Party of 2012, today's Democratic Party is more focused on issues like climate change, democracy, abortion, and identity and cultural concerns, and less focused on the economy and middle class. The table below shows the shift.
Yay.
Through an analysis of the prevalence of selected words in the 2024 Democratic Party platform.
Show the table!
In comparison with the 2012 Democratic Party platform.
This whole study is really interesting.
Yay, tables!
But I need you guys to see this chart, because when I first saw this, the scream I screamed.
Screamed. I'm analyzing this table. Changes in frequency per 1,000 words of selected terms. Okay.
Chart.
So we're analyzing the language.
Because when I first saw this, the scream I screamed. So Democrats since 2012 have increased their rhetoric on race by, sit down, 1,137%.
Interesting statistic, isn't it?
On the gays, 1,044%. Their rhetoric.
Interesting statistic, isn't it?
On men has decreased by 51%. It is now negative 51%. On fathers, negative.
This is surprising to me.
100%. They just stopped talking about that.
For reasons.
Veterans, negative 31. Them. The economy, negative 51, because nobody cares about that,
yeah,
right?
Nobody
the
cares
middle
about the
class,
economy. Nobody understands
79%, but I guess you can't really talk about something that is disappearing. And jobs, negative 40.
Never existed in the first place, kid.
7%. It somehow gets worse. Apparently, voters trust Republicans more on the most important issues to them.
Wow.
And trust Democrats the most on the least important issues to them. Like,
wow.
They literally care the least about LGBT, but trust Democrats the most with it. The most popular Democratic policies among voters are things like lowering drug prices, banning stock trading, expanding Medicare, and raising the minimum wage. While the most unpopular Democratic policies are things like abolishing the police, providing free healthcare to illegal immigrants, and affirmative action. You're telling me this for the first time. Democrats, here is some advice for free. You can't just be MAGA light. Why would people drink Mr. Pibb when Dr. Pepper is right there? You know what I'm saying? You gotta bring something different, something better to the table. And that different...
Something that people care about. I know that's a controversial statement. Only controversial statements here. But you have to, you know, give a statement on something that people actually give a shit about. Who would have thought?
Should be working class focused economic populism. I don't just want two neocon parties, okay? But all of this is pointless when it's clear the Dems are not changing at all. They're just
whoa, shoot. Best I can do is one neocon party.
gonna change their messaging. They're putting pretty wrapping paper and a bow on a big fat smelly turd. There is a chance that the Democrats may win based entirely on Orange Man bad. Again. Which means they might get into office by learning absolutely f***ing nothing.
Wouldn't that be something?
Again. Then the voters will go, oh my god, nothing has changed. And
really,
then
was it the politicians that learned nothing, or was it the voter base that learned nothing? Let's be honest here. I think you know what the answer
vote for a
is.
Republican. American politics is just a revolving door of villains, isn't it? Rest assured, whoever wins, we lose.
Villains, swindlers, and shysters.
If you're actually gonna do this shit, if you're actually gonna do what you're saying in this little article, you better be going whole hog, not just a tip. I'm talking embracing shoe-socialism.
Oh boy. Alright, wait. Let's see the new party
For many
that's
years, I have been
proposed.
smeared as many things. Grifter, flip-flopper, fence-sitter, racist, sexist, homophobic.
The worst one. She's been being accused of being a woman.
But I am not a grifter, flip-flopper, or a fence-sitter. I'm simply living in 2055. You see, America has been a hyper-capitalist, economically center-right, socially center-left country since about the mid-century. And I know libertarians in my audience are going to be like, it's not capitalism, it's cronyism. Actually, okay, whatever.
What did you just say there? Hang on, I want to listen to that again.
Center-right, 55. You see, America has been a hyper-capitalist, economically center-right, socially center-left country since about the mid-century. And I know libertarians in my audience are going to be like, it's not
that's 100% correct.
Not capitalism, it's cronyism. Okay, whatever the f you want to call it, it sucks, okay? So what if instead, and hear me out, what if instead we were a more people-focused, community-focused, working-class focused, economically left, socially right country? All the data.
So how are you going to enforce that? Are you going to say then you are willing to, at the end of a gun, tell somebody that they must do something that they do not want to do? Because if you're comfortable with that, then yes, we can probably do that. But then you have to be comfortable being the authoritarian that you don't want to be.
Shows more people fall into that quadrant, the populist quadrant, the socialist quadrant, if you will, than the current system we are in today. If a socialist party existed, it would be incredibly popular, but it doesn't exist. And that's probably by design, honestly. The Social Democrat Party of Denmark.
I think there's, well, for you're bringing up Denmark. We'll get to that in just a second. I think you might be correct, and that's what most people espouse that they want to have, for sure. But a lot of these systems and policy proposals don't actually work or effectuate, especially in places like the United States, in a macro scale. Denmark is a small homogenous country where you can essentially have an opt-in like this, but when you're talking about the United States, it's much too big to be able to apply policies that would work on small populations to them.
It's passed many progressive policies that liberals in America would only dream of.
Right.
Protection from rent hikes, free college and healthcare, carbon taxes, and a very strong welfare system. But the Social Democrat Party also believes in a strict immigration policy. They believe that if immigration is too fast or chaotic, it puts pressure on working class communities, weakens social unity, and makes it harder to maintain their strong welfare system. Wow, what a f***ing grifter Denmark is. I feel like so many people nowadays are like terminally left.
We also have to understand that Denmark doesn't actually have to project its military force across the world, and you can have any opinion that you want about whether or not that's good or bad. The sheer fact of the matter is no matter if you think it is good or bad, it protects a lot of economic interests of not only our country, but economic interests of other countries by the fact that we're able to protect trade, maintain maritime law, try to fight pirates, pretty much all of the stuff that manifests free trade. So there's a lot of other issues that are going into all of the policies that Denmark is able to do socially that they don't have to foot the bill for other things around the world. Sure, again, we might be able to talk about dissolving the military on an absolutely crazy, really far scale, which an impossible scale, let's put it that way. If we're talking about dissolving the military, we might not even be able to reach a point of solvency for the policies that Denmark also is able to put into for their population. It's really untested ground, and we don't know how that's going to play out. So making a rapid change like that, or making a change that would be based upon, a result, might not be the best course of action. My entire thing is, if you are going to try to force a plurality, or even something that's not even a super minority, so we're talking 33% and below, if you're trying to force them to ascribe to the whims of essentially a tyrannistic majority, then you're still in the wrong.
Right brain to the point where they look at issues, and instead of being like, that solution makes sense to me, I believe that, I agree with that, they instead go, that's the left-wing solution, therefore I will.
Sure, but a lot of people also say that's the right solution, and they don't have the ability to be able to see from all sides what the outcome of that will be, right? And I mean, I don't think that anybody should have to see that. I think that they should be, one on the merits of an argument, so to speak. But that as a litmus test might not be the best litmus test, because everybody's not working with the perfect set of facts or even the perfect set of presuppositions.
Believe in that. And it's so stupid and hyper partisan and makes absolutely no sense to me. And that's why I think like a lot of left-right brain.
You are very correct about the, people here. Oh, that's a left-wing policy. I hate it. Or, oh, that's a right-wing policy and I hate it. I definitely think that you're right about that. Most people hear that, oh, this is left, this is right, and they immediately fall into a camp. I think that is, in my opinion, a mental unloading of one's own critical thinking skills. And I think that it's something that's necessary for regular people. Most people don't, maintain incredible's the wrong word. Critical thinking skills all the time. And I don't think that they should be expected to. But I definitely think that the way that we think about politics is a lot more mundane than the impact that it actually has on people's normative lives. I wish that, if I was good to design the perfect system, I would say that only the people who are politically engaged in the sense that they know about the issues, have an opinion on the issues, and have reached it through critical thinking should be able to vote. But, that being the perfected reality is not going to be an achievable metric or goal.
Partisan people don't understand me or people like me. That's why they call me a centrist or fence sitter or flip-flopper or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not a fence sitter. I have many strong opinions. You just don't like them. And no, I'm not a flip-flopper just because you don't understand the concept of having opinions that don't perfectly fall on the arbitrary, always changing left-right axis that is American circus politics.
Well, it's also okay to be a flip-flopper if you're being genuinely convinced of, a different viewpoint, right? What's not okay is it's not okay to espouse an ideology and then immediately flip your ideology in order to win the vote of somebody else and then flip back, because then it's like, then you have no true ideology. Then again, like, the perfect politician is the politician who, in spite of what their own ideology is, does what their constituents want. But, at that point, now we're talking like way too theoretical.
There's nothing incoherent about my beliefs on paper. None of them contradict one another. I don't understand. She likes free healthcare but doesn't want to chemically castrate children?
Wow.
She believes in workers' rights but wants a stricter border? I don't get it. Like, where's the contradiction? I'm basically just Bernie Sanders before he got his spine surgically removed by the DNC. In conclusion, MAGA and the Republican Party embracing populism is what made them so popular in the first place. But if the Republican Party's answer to all these issues young people are having is, F you, just move, you're not talented, maybe you'll own a home when you're 70 years old, they're doomed. Like, they had a small, brief fling with populism and ghosted it. Just pumped and dumped. Like a fat whore they're ashamed of and won't bring out on dates in public.
As I'm editing this, Trump and Mamdani had a meeting together and it was very interesting.
We were discussing when Bernie Sanders was out of the race, I picked up a lot of his votes, and people had no idea. When he was put out of the race, I think quite unfairly, if you want to know the truth, many of the Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And I felt very comfortable, frankly, in seeing that and saying that. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. We agree on a lot more than I would have thought.
I'm sorry, this is my new favorite problematic Yowie ship. They love each other. Maybe it's not over, folks. Maybe the power of friendship and populism will save us all.
Listen, I want my kids to grow up in a safe and affordable world where they can get jobs and they can start a family and then they can have the same for their kids. And I feel like at the end of the day, that's what most people want. Left and right. They just have different ideas on how to get there. It just so happens my ideas happen to—
Sure, they have different ideas of how to get there, but a lot of it is in contrast with their core driving principles, right? So either you're going to be okay using force or you're not going to be okay using force. And if you're not okay using force to get to your ideology or ideological endpoint, then your ideology is never going to be able to be viable, because that's what government is the utilization of force. So, I mean, just food for thought.
To be the correct ones, and if you disagree with them, you will be sent to the re-education camp. Do you want one? Do you want a nuggie?
No.
Pledge your allegiance to shoesalism and you get a nuggie. So that was that little video. If you liked it, please subscribe for more. And if you want to help support the channel, donate to my Patreon, link down below.
Yay.
All patrons get every single video uncensored a day early.
Donations.
If you can't or don't want to support me on Patreon, that's fine. I don't care. I didn't want you to anyway.
Good.
Baka. Okay, I will see you guys soon with a fun slop video, just in time for
Yay! Christmas. I can't wait for the slop video. That's gonna be fun. All right, yeah, so that was Shoeonhead. Like and subscribe. I definitely have a lot of opinions on that. I definitely have a lot of things that, you know, I think that I disagree with Shoeon, but that's good because, you know, disagreement between the 2 points of view is generally the in-between is generally where you want to be as a society, and being able to have those conversations in a non, you know, pointed way where you just divulge into calling each other names is definitely very good. But yeah, I think that, you know, on the other hand, there are a lot of problems with some of the ideologies, or rather some of the conclusions that exist on the left. And, you know, just for a good example is, I think universal basic income or something like that might not be, you might have a lot of externalities to it that most people haven't thought about. Especially in the sense that, you know, when you have a universal basic income or maybe some type of price control or something like that, history has shown that that becomes now the new price of everything, and it gets factored into all products and everything. So everything gets more expensive for people who aren't underneath some type of, you know, income assistance or basic income. It basically becomes an extra tax on your income. But, you know, we can talk about that forever, but you know, just to keep this short, I think that there are a lot of things that sound like they're good ideas, but when you put them into practice might not actually be effective ideas or make things effectively worse for everybody. And I think that, you know, people who come from the left side come from a more empathic side, which is great because it encourages the other side to have at least some type of protracted empathy in order to approach problems, or rather have a guiding framework for the problems to be solved. I don't know. That's just like me waxing on that for a little bit. But yeah, I think that it's good to have these conversations. And even though, like I said, I disagree probably with a lion's share, if not a majority of what Shu has as policy prescriptions, it's good to hear from the other side all the time. And of course she unleashes, you know, video bangers. So with that, I'll go ahead and leave you. Yeah, Christmas is coming up. I'm going to be sticking around until then, so, you know, we'll be counting up to that. But I hope you all, if you never come back and never see me again, have a great Christmas. Also, like and subscribe if you could. I would very much appreciate it. And if you think I'm an absolute blithering idiot, just go ahead and call me that in the comments. I'd be sure to love to hear that.